it's not like a realistic place for me to live in. So more like accept the parts of myself and the things that are, I know I'm not like necessarily the greatest version of myself, but I came to terms with that.
Do you ever wonder how amazing you would be if you actually kind of were able to manage these hindrances in your life?
If you can say that like there's any reason why one group of humans can treat another group of humans that way, then you're anti-Semitic. There's no way two ways about it. You know, you don't care about Jewish lives. That's what
You
it
don't.
is.
You're very special, Matisyahu, because we never do it like this. We never really do Zoom.
Yeah.
So
Thank
this,
you for doing that. I appreciate it.
no, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I think you're fantastic. I love your music. I'm a big fan of yours, and I went to see you in LA. I think it was I guess by now, probably a month ago.
That's
And
right.
right, and you are so good.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Do you do podcasts a lot? Because I was like, when I was Googling around to see, some stuff on you, there hasn't been very many.
No, I've only done a few.
You've only done a few. Okay, so I feel
Yeah.
very honored to have you. So thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
Well, where to begin? Let's start with maybe a lot of my audience may or may not be very familiar with you. So let's just start with just saying who you are. You are an exceptional artist who blends reggae, hip hop, rock, and very inspiring music, very spiritual, exceptionally talented. Your name is obviously Matisyahu. Where did you even get that name? Was that like a nickname when you were a child? How did
Yeah.
that kind of even start?
That was my name in Hebrew school because my English name is Matthew. And so that's just what they, said like, okay, Matthew is Matisyahu.
And can I just ask you, because I know that you were an Orthodox Jew and did you leave it and come back? Are you still an Orthodox Jew?
Yeah, I wasn't raised Orthodox, and then I became Orthodox when I was like 20 or 21 and was like Hasidic for maybe 10, 12 years. And then kind of like became, I guess, not religious. And um, yeah, so I'm no longer religious.
You're not at all.
Not like, I mean, it becomes like, question of what is religious, what is religion, and all of those things. But with just like pretty, like, I don't like believe that, I don't believe in like any dogmas. And I love, aspects of tradition and spirituality and blah, 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 and Judaism and all of that. But I don't ascribe to the idea that that there's like a something that specific that God really wants from us.
That's so interesting because, like you said, you weren't born an Orthodox Jew, but is that called bat shuva, right? When you become
Yeah,
one,
Baal. Yeah,
Baal,
Baal
Baal,
Tshuva. Yeah.
Baal shuva. What made you change after becoming an Orthodox Jew? What made you reverse back to or become? Would you say you're atheist now? Then what would be your? How
No, I'm
would you
not
call it?
atheist. Like I believe in God, but I just don't believe that I don't really believe in like if I guess if you're religious, you believe that like if you're a religious Jew, for example, you believe that the Torah was given to Moses on Mount Sinai, and you believe that the original rabbis, who made like laws around that Torah, you ascribe to those particular rules. And so that's what I don't necessarily believe when I say that I don't believe like God wants something from us. I don't mean that he doesn't want something. I mean, but I think that it's up for grabs. It's up for interpretation always when it comes to God. It's like, what does God want? Does he want? Does he not want? Is it he? Is it she? Is it like all these very ethereal questions? But when you bring them down into the practicality of religion, and they're basically rules. Sorry about that, ding. I'll get rid of that. They're basically like rules that are, you know, just there, whatever. Um, Laws and such. That's where I kind of like don't. I believe that there's like a discord between like man and God, and that's specifically what religion comes to try to do is like make that connection between man and God through mainly through laws and rules.
Was there like a particular incident that kind of uh happened in your life that made you that kind of gave you that evolution where you wanted to go back or stop practicing to that level? Or is it just like an overall evolution and lots of little things happen?
Yeah, my life has been like a evolution in every aspect and every stage of it. From the time I was a teenager. So I stayed like in the religious world for quite a long amount of time, like all of my 20s and my early 30s. And I absorbed like a lot of it. But even when I was in that world, I was like evolving in different ways. Like at one point, I was like mainly just learning Chabad, and I was living in Crown Heights and just completely surrounded by Chabad. And then at some point, I started learning Breslov Hasidus and changing even like the way that I looked. When you think of like different evolution, different stages or whatever, there's usually like physical connection to that for me. So, yeah, so it's always life has evolved, but when you kind of like make that decision to say like, okay, there's an ultimate truth and I'm gonna live by it, and you dedicate like so much time and energy into like that way of being, way of living, then and it's I guess like this for a lot of people in terms of on any level when they're evolving, but it becomes like pretty hard to go back on it all. Like to
Yeah.
say like, okay, I don't believe this is ultimate truth, even though I've dedicated like the last decade of my life to it. And, I have kids who are religious and I married a religious person and, all those things. So, it becomes hard and a lot of people don't want to, even if they don't necessarily like buy into the whole thing anymore, they don't want to question or like shake the boat too much. But for me, um, there was definitely like a period of time where over a period of years that I kind of felt that something wasn't right and something was off on about it. And then sort of what happened is, and I know that your show is kind of like a health show, so this kind of fits, but I think it is at least, but about like healthy living and stuff like that, right? I mean,
It's more like it is. There's a lot of it's about habits and
habits.
rituals
Oh,
to be super successful.
oh,
So
awesome.
a lot of entrepreneurs. It's a lot of entrepreneurs,
Right,
people who are
right.
optimizing their life. Yeah.
It's so
And you,
interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I have a lot to talk about that, but um, what was I saying at that point when,
you were saying that a lot of people
oh,
don't have
health.
the
I was getting, yeah, but
the
when it came
courage.
to health, I
Yeah.
had some kind of like stomach issue. Like I had some kind of something going on with my stomach, and like whenever I ate, I would like wouldn't feel well, and I decided to get into macrobiotics. So
Mm.
this is while I was religious and I was living in LA. And I completely changed my diet and then like took out obviously all of the obvious things like nicotine and alcohol and even like smoking weed and caffeine, but was not eating sugar or processed foods and was only um thanks was only eating like brown rice and like seaweed for like months. And then I would have to eat it like in a room by myself and like chew the food 30 times. Like because I guess I was coming from like religious place and
Hmm.
the person I connected with was pretty like hardcore and religious about it in and the rules about it. So I really like bought into it and did it. And I would eat this bowl of rice like in my office, like in my house. And the kids were pretty young or they were out at school. And I don't know, I just would chew this rice. And I also had a cyst on my vocal cord, so I had to be on complete vocal silence. I was like, my voice teacher had me not talking at all, not even to like my family, my kids or my wife. So during that time period, I started to begin to feel like really, really sensitive, not in a bad way, like in a really good way, like in a way to all these different shades of emotions that I would have and to the world and I started to become kind of like super like spiritual
Yeah.
after all these years of like praying like hours and hours a day and like doing all this shit. And that was really that, I had been in therapy for a while and uh and that I sort of felt like I found the kind of inner like love for myself and happiness that I had been looking for when I became religious. Um,
Okay.
so so I would say that was sort of part of it, because I was sort of like felt like I had found it and it wasn't through the rules or the religion, it was through like eating brown rice and not talking.
Totally the antithesis of what everyone I think would probably think you do because you're so known for having such like your music is very influenced by like the Jewish faith and like you're very spiritual and you're very profound in your lyrics and everything and you would think that it was all these other things that kind of got you to that place.
Well,
Who would have thought it was food?
it was that was like that was I would say like the final piece of it, like
Yeah.
the inner piece. But all of the years of like studying and doing what we call like his bonus, which is like meditation, and I would do different parts of my life. Like I would do different things. Like I would do these walking meditations for a while I was on tour, and I would learn this Hasidus and then these ideas, it's really spiritual ideas. And then I would be on tour and I would, just be by myself or whatever. So I would just go for these like long walks and I would meditate on the ideas that I was thinking about and it was powerful. It's powerful stuff. And it built my whole entire sort of like way of looking at the world and seeing things. So I definitely think that all of that work and like energy and that entire phase of my life was like hugely important and still is like even especially like now with post October 7th, I believe there's like what we call like a paradigm shift where it's no longer about like religion or not religion. It's like Jewish. And you either feel connected to your Jewish roots and being Jewish, or you don't. You're afraid of it, or you don't feel connected to it. So, in some ways, you see this like unity happening, which is much more like on a big scale of unification or disconnect. But the idea of like these little pockets of religious, communities that live in places, and then it's so important. Do you keep Shabbos? Do you not keep Shabbos? Do you eat this? Do you not eat that? All of that kind of falls away now after October 7th, and it's just like, okay, we're under attack. So, are we all here together, or are you not? That's the question.
I'm so glad that you said that because, that's really why I really wanted to speak with you because you've been one of the Jewish people like myself who's been very outspoken for obvious reasons of what's happened on October 7th. Um, is it surprising to you that more Jewish people have been silent and that what has happened, the amount of hate and vitriol that's been thrown our way, is happening, or are you kind of just did you kind of expect this to be the way it is?
Well, there's two things. So, like for me, this started like 10 years ago, around 2014, 15. I got boycotted by the BDS and thrown off a festival in Spain. And I think I was like the first American Jew that's happened to. Like it had been happening to Israelis for years and years, not just musicians, but speakers and all types of Israelis that want to find work outside of Israel that are, outspoken, have had that issue. So I felt it back then, and I was way less prepared when I'm 45 now. So I guess I was 35. It was 10 years ago, right? At that time period in my life, I was a lot like more reading comments online. And like now at this stage, I know what to do, what not to do, and the buffers I need to have. But at that time, it was pretty new still. So, I was just like, it was painful, for me. And then I immediately saw support from Jews like worldwide when that happened. I mean, basically, I didn't even mention it I was just like, okay, fine. They wanted me to sign something that I was like against Israel. And I was like, no. And then they threw me off and like patted themselves on the back and posted about it. And then basically Jews went like crazy. Like the whole world, like not the world, but like the Jewish community went crazy. And within like 20 hours, the Spanish government was like telling them if they didn't offer me an apology, they were like closing the festival down, basically. Backers were pulling out money. So that shows you like the difference between 10 years ago and now, right? Like now
Wow.
that's just happening left and right to all of us constantly. And it's totally like that's the new norm. So that's in terms of expecting it, I've kind of felt like it's kind of been happening slowly. But now obviously it's like a different level. And then in terms of Jews speaking up, I think, you know, in America, being Jewish for some people is important. And for a lot of people, like the majority of American Jews, it's just not important. It just wasn't ever important, right? Like, unless you grew up in an Orthodox world or you had parents who love Israel or you went to a Holocaust museum and that like deeply affected you. But very few people are like Matisyahu who just like went on the Jewish journey. You know what I mean? I was in New York City. I was 20 years old. 20 years old and I felt this like existential loneliness that I couldn't escape from music or drugs or anything else. And I was just like, I'm going back to my roots. I'm going to discover what Judaism is. And then I went all the way, to Mea Sharim, literally, and then back again. So I don't know very many people like that. I know a few people, but the majority of Jews just grew up in like Reformed Jewish households where, until like Seinfeld came along or Larry David, like literally had no connection to being Jewish. So why is it that all of a sudden all these Jews who we know are Jewish, but like why would they care? We just assume that when we're under attack, like the Jewish spark inside of you, like lights up. And then like someone like me, there's no question. It's not like, should I post this? Should I not post this? It's like my family, like babies are being held hostage. Like, of course, this is what I'm going to post. This is all I can think about or talk about. So but so you see, it's not about religion because you have lots of non-religious Jews out there who have that same reaction that I have, the Michael Rappaports and the Brett Gelmans and Montana Tuckers, who are just boom, all of a sudden their Jewish flame is ignited. And that's something that happens naturally to some people. And then you've got all these other people, all these other Jews who were probably, I assume, just like it never meant anything to me now. I've never been to Israel. What does any of this have to do with like my career? And just like hope that no one knows that figures out they're Jewish,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
or else they have to be in like uncomfortable situations where they deep down know that there's something wrong with this, but their husband or their wife or their best friends or whatever are, like attacking them for being Jewish, basically. What are your thoughts on this? I imagine that's probably what's going on, and then they right away probably have to be like, oh, I'm on the side of Palestine just to get people off their back. I would think that's what's going on there. I don't know.
So, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I agree with you. I think America for sure, especially California, Los Angeles, very much it's a reform Jewish. Most people who are Jewish here are reform. I'm Canadian, so I grew up much more of a conservative household. And I think to your point, because my mom's Israeli, and it was so important for my family, right? Let's say that even though my Jewishness was really kind of dormant in me, when this whole thing happened October 7th, it did kind of ignite again. But I think you're actually very accurate, which is the fact that if it wasn't really in your life and your parents didn't care, it's so diluted. You're such a diluted Jew that like this is not it doesn't inspire the same angst, you
Right.
know?
What did you, maybe you went to Yom Kippur like once a couple of times, or you went to like a Sunday school or something, and it was like you didn't want to be there. Like, I mean, basically there was no
Exactly.
inspiration in Judaism for Americans unless it came from someone or something or some specific thing, or you were kind of different.
No, it's 100% true. So then, like, what about the fact that what happened though was so clearly a massacre on the Jewish people, right? Like the fact that we have to defend ourselves for defending ourselves, the Jewish people have to defend themselves for defending themselves. To me, this is where I find there such a disconnect,
Yeah.
because that's clear anti-Semitism right there. Right?
Yeah.
We were attacked.
Yeah, it has to be. There's no other answer for it. This is just the moment when everyone who has any ounce of anti-Semitic blood in them is like, this is my moment to fucking give it to the Jews. That's what it has to be, because it makes no sense. Like you said, you just like hostages. Okay, if they had only attacked on October 7th, the military base, even though they were attacking women, and even though they were raping those women, you could still make the argument that it was a military base, even if it was a military base. So the point being that if they had attacked the military base, even though there's women in the military base, and even knowing the horrendous things that could have happened to them, some people, not myself, but some people could make an argument saying that it was a military base. But the fact that they attacked civilians and families and children and women, and the things that they did, in those homes where they roasted babies in ovens in front of their mothers, and, tortured children in front of their parents. That level of, atrocity deserves a massive, massive retaliation. And we've been dealing with this forever, and it's time to end it. And that's how I think any Jew with any kind of feeling of being Jewish, that these were their people that were attacked, would feel that way. And, you know, this is not just military, these are, it's beyond that. And then you can get into the history and, who deserves to be there and all that. But, all of that you can argue. But if you can say that, there's any reason why one group of humans can treat another group of humans that way, then you're anti-Semitic. There's no way two ways about it. You don't care about Jewish lives. That's what it is. Yeah.
No, I agree. But even if you were a Reformed Jew, right, and you see this happening, how to not say something now more than ever? It really just gets me at a place. I get so infuriated when I see so many people who have platforms who can at least say something. Maybe they don't have to be hardcore like me or maybe you.
Not just Jews, anyone who saw what happened, who knows what happened.
A human being.
How is it not talked about? How is no one in the music industry outside of Scooter Braun talk about November 7th? How does no one talk about October 7th? How does no one talk about what, that we still have hostages? All that whole all eyes on Rafah thing. Where are our hostages in Rafah?
By the way, that just infuriates me. All eyes on Rafah. Well, give us back our hostages, but not to.
Who started this? And let me ask you, would America or any country allow another group to come over its border, attack its civilians, take them back to make them hostages in tunnels, and not totally demolish them and not destroy them? What? I don't know, that it makes no sense, because it's hatred and anti-Semitism.
That's all there is. That's the only explanation.
And our generation has just been so lucky. We've been up until now, we've been the lucky generation post-Holocaust, who generation, 2 generations already, that has grown up in this golden era of, you can be Jewish and it doesn't matter, and you don't have to tell anyone or ever think about really the fact that you're Jewish. It's, just maybe on Hanukkah, you'll make a decision. Maybe you're going to get a Christmas tree. I don't know. That's what a lot of Jews do. But it's that's just the way it is, I guess. It's not, I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
No, but by the way, but that's not okay if that's the way it is. In my opinion, that's not okay that is the way it is. And, I feel like the fact that, you were saying even 10 years ago when you got canceled from that big festival in Spain, and, they had to do an apology and all these things, cut to recently when I was at your show.
I'm sorry. I know what I was going to say. I just want to finish that one point. Just that for our generation, we haven't really had to face anything like it. So that's why it's so mind boggling for us. It's I think if you talk to our grandparents or any other generation from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they would be like, oh yeah, like this is what happens. Of course, this is what happens. But for us, it's like our entire lives and our experience of what we know, this is not what we know. So that's why it's so like crazy for us to
Yeah.
wrap our heads around it.
And devastating. Has it brought you, by the way, closer to Judaism, where you are maybe doing more things
Yeah,
traditionally than it has?
absolutely it has. I mean, the moment this happened, I was like, you know, like we were saying, like Judaism became less important in my life, and even the notion of God and focusing so much about God became less important. And the last 10 years of my life have been more about just being a human in this world. I kind of like came to terms with the fact, like at some point when I was young, I was like, part of my becoming Hasidic was sort of anti-American in a way, or just like anti, like whatever is the norm. It was this rebellious attitude that I'm not happy with this world and what's around me, and I'm making different choices to live my life a different type of way. Um, and over the years, I became like very accepting and happy about like this country that I live in, that supports me, where I go from literally from city to city across America, and I perform for my fans, and I've gotten to know those people, and and play these venues, and be in these towns and these cities, on tour, 200 days a year for 20 years now. And I've played in Europe and other countries and stuff, but this has been where I've done it on a tour bus, driving across back all over America, and I've begun to feel very connected to it. And even in terms of like my own culture of who I am, I just like began to just come back to, okay, what are the things that I liked as a kid? Okay, so I watch ice hockey and I like to barbecue, and I've become very like, like very American, in a way, and
Yeah.
very much less focused on Judaism. Now, in my music and in my spirituality, there's still like I still get into that, and that still is like the background for the music I create. I'm not writing songs about barbecuing. I mean, I'm writing songs about still things that I feel are important, being a husband, being a father, ups and downs, addiction, loneliness, all the different things in my life that have come up, and gone on, but much less just about God. Now, or about being, or how important is it to be Jewish? I kind of like felt like for all these years that I was on the road where I was religious, it kept me from really integrating with people, with my band members. When they would all go out for dinner, I was in my hotel room with plastic kosher food, or when people were going out or whatever, I always isolated myself. And I started to feel like the way that this religion was set up basically was to separate. And that's all good and fine if you have a community, but if you're just out in the world, living in the world, and you have to do that, it's just going to isolate you. And so I basically started to so when I started like became like less religious or whatever, and started going out to restaurants with people and connecting more with humans and with the world around me, and felt that that was like the next phase for me. That's the next evolution. It's like coming down off the mountaintop, like integrating into the world. I did a lot of health stuff. I did a lot of psychedelics, and I kind of really climbed the mountaintop. And religion and all of those things, I have 6 kids, and now it's really about how do I integrate everything and make sure it doesn't all fall apart, basically, and keep it on solid ground. And so, but getting back, sorry for this long like speech or whatever, but
No,
getting
no,
back
I
to
like it. It's interesting. You have
it's
six
like I'm
kids?
talking to a therapist. Yeah.
That's
So
that's okay. People have called me way worse than a therapist. Um,
but basically then after October 7th, all of a sudden I was like playing at a reggae festival in Vegas. And like that morning, my son's in Israel, and I'm like walking around, like backstage, and I'm like, how is anything really relevant? I need to find who's another Jewish artist that's here. What can we do? What can we post? Can we collaborate? Like bring an Israeli flag up on stage. Like now all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm going to Israel. Okay, I've got to see what happened. Okay, now the connection and the special like feeling that I got over there. Now, okay, I did my tour. I'm going back to Israel right after the tour, playing more shows and doing stuff there. And I want to release a record there, and I'm meeting people there and connecting over there. And when I'm back here now, okay, I've decided because there's so many Jewish fans that are showing up to the shows, I'm not playing Friday night shows anymore, even though I've been playing on Shabbos for years. Okay, so I'm taking that out. Okay, Friday nights, I'm not weekends, I'm not Friday and Saturday. I'm trying to like put my phone down, not work. The connection that I'm feeling with other Jews, the desire to be together, to pray together, to do, anything, to eat together, all of this is why I say it like supersedes religion. It goes all of a sudden, it's no longer about religion. It's like it's about Jewishness, kind
Mm-hmm.
of. And I think even religious people see that, which is something that has always been a boundary, I think.
I will say when I went to your show here, I was really surprised and shocked because I've always loved your music. I love that song One Day. I love that album with your obvious King Without a Crown, the Youth album. And then, like life happens and you kind of just like move on to other people and you forget that I forgot that I really liked you back then. Do you know what I mean? And then I go to your show and I've never experienced what I experienced at your show. The kind of feeling of unity and love that came from that show was really like unbelievable and remarkable to me. You can feel a different energy in the crowd than you would at any other show. And when you brought that flag, the Israeli flag, and you brought the Holocaust survivors on the show, like how you kind of did that was so moving in a way that that's why I'm like, oh my God, I need to get to this guy and have him on this podcast and get to know, like do some kind of collaboration because I think that you really do represent. And when I was like looking and observing how other people were experiencing the show, like from the outside, you really represent this beacon of a light for the Jewish people. That's what it seemed like to me, like more than anybody else, because it was really amazing. Like kudos to that and bravo to you, because I really believe that you are like a beacon of light for the Jewish people.
Thank you.
No, it's absolutely the truth. And I would have thought like when I watched you, it felt like so sincere and earnest and like I said, like I felt like, I was curious with all this happening with you, what has been the reaction or response for you with your career? I know your show got canceled, cut to 10 years later, your shows were getting canceled here in the US. And they said it was for safety reasons. And I guess my guess is no one had to make an apology to you 20 hours later, like they did at the Spain festival, right? And those shows were probably never I guess whatever happened basically to that whole thing.
Well, I went on a tour and it was like 35 shows and three of them got canceled. Other ones got threatened to be canceled. We had protesters outside of like half of them. Yeah, like it was the first time that's obviously like I've gone through anything like that on a night to night basis. Like, I've got little kids on the tour bus and we had to get securities because, people were cursing at them and my wife when they would try to walk to the stage or so it was intense, but it's like you said, this feeling of love and light, like that's there during the show. And you would have the juxtaposed with this like total hatred and anger outside as the fans were like funneling through the security line to get in. And then it would just be like open up into this beautiful show. And I think part of that was the feeling that everyone had to have to go through that and to get through it. And that's like a microcosm for what we as a Jewish people are going through. And it's like being squeezed through the Maitzer, through Mitzrayim, it's like the narrow thing, but it brings us together. And then when we come through the other side, it's a strong amount of light to balance out that darkness that we all have inside of us. and you really see it on display. It really comes. So it was a really powerful tour, even though some shows got canceled. Um, and yeah, those shows that got canceled, are unfortunate, and I'm still having shows canceled. I'm have a festival that I'm supposed to play, and they don't want to announce that I'm on the bill.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah, so like that's the next one I'm dealing with right now. But um, I've gotten a lot of support from the Jewish community, has really come together, and I've gotten a lot of, shows through the Jewish community. But it's yeah, that little network of shows of that little reggae kind of community that was my bread and butter, where I made most of my living on those festivals. I haven't gotten any of them this summer. Zero. So
Wow.
it
So you're,
sucks.
yeah, that does suck. So would you say then that your business is like the actual your it has hurt or because
Yeah, it's shifted. It's shifted. Like honestly, I mean, I'll always do the touring that I've done, and we'll go to those venues, and they'll either cancel or they won't. But if I have contracts with them, they're gonna pay me. So, but in terms of like the all the festivals that I normally play in the summer, those seem to have gone away for now. And but I've gotten like tons and tons of Jewish events and playing at the colleges and doing some, for the Chabads and for some Jewish organizations and stuff like that. So that was something I wasn't doing so much of recently before, and I am now.
yeah. So basically your business is it's changed. So like you may have it's obviously hurt your core business, but now the
Yeah.
Jews are all banding behind you and really giving and kind of like prop kind of like that's where your business your bread and butter now is the Jewish community, not the reggae festival mainstream market,
You
basically.
got it. Exactly. 100%. Yeah. And that's all shifted like in the last, 2, 3 months, basically. Yeah.
And like then it just again infuriates me not is the fact that then you have like Macklemore, who's had a couple hits 10 years ago out there, causing such vitriol and venom, has such vitriol and venom towards the Jewish people and those crowds. Are you looking at those crowds that he has with
No,
people cheering him on? Did you see what happened
no.
in Germany? He's
Oh, yeah.
basically just he's doing just he's saying atrocious things about Jewish people. He's wearing a Jew mask. You see, like he put on like a curly wig, a big nose. Did you not
Oh,
see
yeah.
this?
I saw that, but that's from years ago. That one,
Okay.
unless he did it again. He had to make an apology for that one.
Well, it's all over social media today. I don't know. It was
Oh my
something that
God. I wonder if he broke it back out again. That would make sense.
go
I
look
mean,
at it.
I
You
wouldn't put
see,
it past him unless it just like went viral again today for some reason. I don't know.
I think it's recent because he did say free Palestine. He says people have to be screaming free Palestine. So
Yeah, so he put out a rap song that's just
horrible.
just totally filled with anti-Semitic, stuff. And it's just like, yeah, it's horrible. Did you hear though the Remedy diss track on Macklemore?
No.
Okay, you have to listen to this. So Remedy is, I don't know if you know him. He's an original, like one of the original members of the Wu-Tang Clan, and he's Jewish. He's like the only white member of Wu-Tang.
Are you
Like
serious?
they had like their core members, like the
Yeah.
RZA and the Jizza, but then they had like the Killer Bees, and they had like this outer world of rappers, and Remedy was part of that. And he put out a song, I want to say in the late '90s, maybe like '95 or '96, called Never Again, about the Holocaust. And it's one of the like songs that made me want to rap. Like at that time, I would listen to a lot of Fish and Bob Marley and stuff, but all my friends listen to rap music, but I didn't fully get it. And then I heard that song, and it's so powerful. So it's the most powerful song that I've ever heard about the Holocaust for sure. And he has been relatively silent like since then. Like if you he does not put out much, but he just released this video about the song, the Macklemore song, and like responding to it. And it's one of the dopest rap songs I've ever heard. It's incredible.
Really?
You have to go listen to it
I will.
immediately and tell everybody about it. It's
I
so
will.
good.
I'm gonna write that down. Hold on. What's
Look,
the song called? Remedy. His name is
it,
Remedy.
yeah, just look up on his Instagram, Remedy, Remedy, Remedy. I
Why
don't
don't
even know if he's
yeah.
got a blue check mark. Like it's so good. Like it's the song is so good. You gotta
What's it
hear it.
called? What's the
Because
song called?
a lot of people have done tracks, you know, or like not a lot, but there's a few Jewish rappers that have responded to the Macklemore thing. I responded on TMZ. I didn't want to write a song about it, but I knew there would be people who would do a better job. But Remedy just knocks it out of the park. It's incredible.
I'm gonna listen to that. Why don't you want to do a song about it? I think you'd be the perfect person
Well, I kind
to.
of like after the Kanye stuff happened, I also was like, oh, maybe I should do a song about it. And I didn't push it. I just waited until like I had the right beat and the right moment. And then I wrote this song about anti-Semitism before October 7th. And I released it recently. It's called Ascent. And I filmed the video in Israel at the site of the Nova Festival and the kibbutzim, and it's got Holocaust footage mixed into it. It's a very powerful piece. Check it out.
I'm gonna definitely check that out. So
Yeah.
what is your process then? You said like you just wait, like what's your step? Like what do you do day to day now? Like how besides doing my
Right now,
podcast?
right now, I'm not really making music because my manager quit on me during this tour. Yeah, he wanted me to like change lyrics in my song because he felt they might be like offensive or whatever. So, and I said no, and then he dropped me. So I'm managing myself with my wife, me and my wife, and like my friend Adams is helping me, he's awesome. I'm on email and my phone like, 6, 7 hours a day, but I also have like a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old and then a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old that are currently in my house all the time. So I'm like, doing different aspects of fathering, a 17-year-old, you're like coaching them and trying to get them to like be on top of their shit. Because my 17-year-old is not really in high school. He does music and works. So, and he's getting his GED. And I'm just trying to like help him through all that. And then my 13-year-old is like, just going through what 13-year-old, I guess, boys and girls go through, just all the emotional stuff. It's like, that's a lot. But he's kind of the middle child. So, and then, I have a 4 and a 2-year-old and yeah, so I have all that. And then, just trying to stay healthy and,
Oh my
you
God.
know, and like, yeah, so I tore my like ACL and my meniscus on like the third day of the tour, and I just haven't had time to go to a doctor. So I've been like hobbling around for 6 months. People,
Are you joking me right now? Oh my
so
God, let
yeah,
me help you. Let me help. Okay, first of all, there's lots of stuff here. I mean,
yeah.
I can unpack a
No, no, no,
million
no. I'm
things.
good. I don't need help actually.
You
I'm
don't?
really
It
good.
sounds like
No,
you're
no.
pretty, it sounds like you have a couple, you got a lot on your hands. So you have 6 kids. Does that mean you have two that live in Israel? Because I heard that
I have
some live.
my 18-year-old lives in Israel, and then I have a 10-year-old daughter who's in Oregon.
Oh, okay. How many times were you married, by the way?
Once,
Oh,
twice. Well, once I have an ex-wife with 3 boys with,
okay.
and then I have Sasha, who was someone that I knew from years before her mom, and we didn't stay together. And then I got married. I met my wife 7 years ago, and we got married 5 years ago, and we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Wow. And where do you live? Do you live in LA? Because I thought you lived
No,
here.
I live in New York,
Oh,
outside
you,
the city. Yeah, I used to live in LA, but I don't anymore. I
oh,
lived for
so
four,
you're in
five
New
years. Yeah.
York.
Yeah, outside the city, like you know,
Oh my
uh,
gosh. So you're okay. So you have 6 kids. You're remarried. Your manager dropped you. Are you looking for a new manager? Do you need help on the business side?
no, I don't. I don't want to have another manager ever again. I've had a string of like not good managers for my whole career, and they've taken a lot of money from me and not, so I'm into doing it myself right now. And I've tried to do it myself before in the past, but it's a lot of work. So, um, but I have some help now. I have my wife and my friend Adam, who's awesome. So I think we're going to be in good shape here and not have to pay 15% of my gross to a manager.
Exactly. And that I
Yeah.
think Adam DM'd me. Is that what's his last name?
Weinberg.
Yeah, I think I got a DM from him. Nothing to do with this podcast, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally nothing to do with the. But who is he? Does he have business? Like, does he
Yeah.
understand the music space? And
Yeah. Adam is like he went to Wash U and was one of the first people that brought me out of yeshiva to play a show. And my band got snowed in because it was Shabbos, so he plays guitar and ended up playing the show with me. So he's my guitar player when I'm on the
yes.
sometimes. My he's not when I play like my band shows, usually it's Aaron Dugan, but who's my original guitar player from like when I was in college. But Adam plays like all the acoustic shows for me. He's Jewish and he knows the Jewish world well, so he kind of like he's my agent who deals with all my Jewish gigs, um, and has for years for me. Even though I had like my agent at Paradigm or whatever, I
Mhm.
had Adam doing the Jewish stuff for me, which is like 90% of it now. So, and he also his main job is he is him and his partner do Andre Bocelli's production, and they're his agent in the United States. So
Oh
he's
wow.
well qualified and my best friend like in the world. So someone I trust, and he just has been like there for me, like especially now at this time. He just like really stepped up. So yeah, it's been great. It's that part's been working out good.
How do you feel? How do you kind of transition, or do you even want to transition back to the festivals, the actual work that was basically your bread and butter, like not just the whole Jewish echo chamber? Do you want to even go back to the regular way? How do you go back to that? Is there like a plan in place, or you just don't think it's possible right now? Or
No, like I think it's possible. I mean, I actually got like a couple offers of for next summer for some reggae festivals. So some promoters are still like cool and they're not being affected by it, and they're still doing it. And then um um some basically I'm still booking tours because my fans are going to come to the shows. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the festivals is you're playing in front of people who may or may not be your fan, or they
right.
may know one day, or they may know King Without a Crown, but they are not like fans that have lived with my music for the last 20 years or for a real portion of time. And those people, there's like about 1,000 of them in every single city in America.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like there's not 5,000 of them anywhere, but there's 1,000 of them in Omaha, Nebraska. There's 1,000 of them in Boise, Idaho. There's 1,000 of them in LA. And that's what I do. I just book. I'm booking tours now. I'm booking a acoustic tour in November and a West Coast tour in December, and I'll play those 1,000 cap rooms, and my fans will come out most likely and be like pretty stoked.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah,
and that, you've got a new, but old but new back band in your corner. But um,
awesome.
no, seriously. And then tell me about your day to day. So, like, you have all these kids. Your house sounds like it's like the Brady Bunch over there with all the kids and the
You want
people
my
and the
day? You want my daily schedule? Well, I'll
yes.
give you today's. So, like my son, my 2-year-old wakes up at like 3 or 4 and comes to our bed. Somehow he like regressed. We had him like in a crib and we put him in a bed, and now he comes to the room at like 3 or 4 and just like kicks me out of the bed from like 4 till like 5:30 until I like snap on him. Then he like crawls over to his mother, and then my daughter comes in the room at like 7, and they are both passed back out, my wife and the 2-year-old. And then we like tiptoe out of the room and go downstairs, and we like I hang out with her, and I make a coffee and roll a joint.
You and your daughter, or you or your wife? I'm confused.
No, no, just me, like while my daughter's watching TV, and I
Okay,
like
okay.
prepared her a little breakfast or whatever. And I let the dogs out. I have like a border collie that's super OCD, and like, I don't put them on leashes. Like we live kind of a little bit in the woods at the end of like a block. So I just like open the door and they all
two Bichon poodles and a border collie. They go chase squirrels for like 20 minutes and then come back. And then everyone comes downstairs. My 13-year-old, I take him to school either like on my motorcycle or I drive him, or my 17-year-old drives him, or my wife drives him. And the babies, now we have a babysitter, which is like a huge, huge thing. We didn't have that for like months and months and months, and it was horrible. But we do now. So she comes at 10 and she's got the kids, and then I come like downstairs to this like little office kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's for the tray.
I like it. Oh, look at
This is
that. Drums. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got drums. Um, and there's like a little outdoor area, and there's like I live on the side of a hill, so I have like a little bench set up, and I just like I just as hard as it is for me because I'm not that guy, I just like focus on my phone and just start going through emails and making calls, and I do that, and then I forget to eat. What time is it? It's like 4:30.
Yeah.
So I
4:30.
I haven't eaten, but like my wife will bring me down like some carrot juice, or like my son will bring me like yeah, I don't really. I'll just drink like I've started drinking this reishi coffee. It's like this mushroom coffee. It's supposed to lower your cholesterol. It's called the company's called Rise. I don't know. We'll see how it works. But I just went to the doctor for like the first time in 8 years, and my cholesterol is not so hot.
It's
Yeah,
not so
so
hot.
not so hot. So yeah, I'll be down here doing this till around now, and then I'll go upstairs and make a cocktail and maybe cook something like a piece of fish on the grill, like a piece of halibut. Like I'll get really into cooking for like 40 minutes where like I won't want to be bothered. And and then I'll have like the kids running around and it'll be chaos. And then eventually we'll like sort of eat like between 5 and 7, I guess, sometime. And then my wife will go bathe the kids and I'll watch hockey. I'll watch the like the playoffs are on right now. Well, there's no
Yeah.
game tonight, but the like this last week or whatever. I'll watch hockey and I'll for sure fall asleep by the second period. Like usually during the intermission between first and second period, but sometimes I'll make it like halfway through second period. Then I'll close up the house and like go up and and then I'll either like hang out with my wife a little, fall asleep, or like somehow like wake up and then like just start thinking about all kinds of crazy shit for like hours. And then I'll just like go outside, smoke another joint on the porch, and then try to go back to sleep. But not every night, some nights like that. But the other night that happened, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I live like right above this trail. And like
Yeah.
I'm on a deck, like a porch, and I like hear this noise. And when people go by the trail, you can hear it if they're on like an electric bike or if it's a deer or if it's someone walking. Like I know by now, I've only lived here for a few months, but I know by now like the sounds of the different things that pass on the trail. And this was something I've never heard. Like it was low and loud. And then the next day on the chat, on the WhatsApp chat, they're like black bear hanging out like in the neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like a black bear walked right by me and I didn't like it was pitch black, so I couldn't see anything.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
Yeah. But I think black bears aren't like so scary. I mean,
Well,
they're big, but
it's scary enough. I don't want to see a black bear in front of my face. That's for sure.
yeah.
So in your daily life, I don't hear any exercise. I don't, you're
Okay.
vaping over
Okay,
there.
listen. Yeah, it's true. Okay, listen. I left out some pieces. Like for an hour and a half this morning, I have two air blowers, like like blowers, leaf blowers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like blew all the dirt from like everywhere around the house and like cleaned everything like OCD, like all the
Okay.
different areas and like the kids' play zone, like on the porch and like emptied out the pool water and and like, I got rid of a hornet's nest. So I did that. And then I have a bench weights like in the garage. And so I just go and do like a rep in between, like while I'm charging the thing. And then I'm like doing so I got to go back to the garage. I get a rep in and then I go. My son offered me to go running with him, but I don't know yet that I should run on this knee. So that's really
Mm.
running has been my go-to. I did do Pilates for 40 minutes yesterday.
on a TV
Okay.
screen. My wife does Pilates, so she'll like pop it on the TV, and so I did do like 40 minutes of Pilates, which is really so. I'm I am trying to make strides on the health. This thing is horrible, but
That's
what do you say?
horrible. But
Sorry
like,
about it.
is that because you don't want to smoke? So that's your
Yeah,
that's
well,
your go-to?
I smoked. I always smoked, and then I had periods of time where I didn't smoke, where I was healthier, and then the last time I quit. I had quit for like almost probably 6 months or a year or something, and then someone like passed me a jewel, and that was it. And I've been vaping like for like 4 years. Like, yeah, it's horrible.
Wow.
I'm just not I'm just not ready to make that step and just quit. But hopefully I will.
Shame on that person.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, well, at
they
least
didn't
you're
know
not
better.
smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
true.
it's baby steps. So you smoke like how many joints would you say you smoke a day? One joint, two joints?
Me,
Yeah.
I smoke about mm, let's see here. I've tried to figure this out before. I believe that I smoke approximately 7 grams of weed a day.
7 grams of weed a day. Would that be like an equivalent to like a big, huge joint or like
No,
two,
that would be like 7 joints,
7 joints? Wow. And
but
so are
not
you
not really big joints, like not like big Bob Marley joints, like not king size,
like, are you high right now talking to me?
No, and this is like the longest that I've gone without smoking today because I really didn't want to smoke during this podcast. I made a point of like maybe I shouldn't smoke weed on this. Usually I do.
Wow. So I feel so honored that you're sober.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna vape either, but I was like, this I got to vape. I have to vape. When I
I,
talk, I like yeah. But I
why?
no. So I don't really get high. That's the thing. So like if you are a person who smokes weed like once a week or something and then you like smoke a joint, you are going to get like super high if it's like some good
Yeah.
weed, right? So when you have a tolerance and you smoke that much weed, it's kind of like having a coffee or something. You don't ever get, I can't get high like you can get high. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
even if I smoke like the strongest weed and like so much of it, it wouldn't really get me high. Like, so I smoke like a little joint. It kind of like relaxes me and I like the way it makes me feel. And that's pretty much it. That's what I've come to. For a long time in my life, I fought that. Like I fought it for a long time. I've always loved weed. And from the very beginning, my parents were like, no. And it was a thing from day one. And depending on like, again, where I was, like when I became religious, silence. Come on, you know how easily I get distracted. Want to meet my 17-year-old?
Sure.
Yeah. How's it going?
Hi. Nice to meet you.
You too.
He's an artist. His name is Dove Bear.
Oh, nice.
Dove Bear.
Dove
Yeah.
Bear. I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You want a drink?
Yeah.
Good. We got you.
What is he getting you?
A drink.
Oh, what kind of drink? So what kind of drink is this? Is it like a carrot juice or?
This is fresh watermelon juice
Oh, okay. Okay.
that my wife squeezed.
Okay.
Yeah, I try not to drink all day. During COVID, I sort of became an alcoholic and I got into White Claw. Like I don't like alcohol and I've drank like in my life, I would drink before a show or I've definitely had my drunk moments, but not like on a daily basis. In Chabad, in the religion, you drink a lot, at certain times, but not ever daily. And then during COVID, I found White Claws and then I just started drinking like a case a day of them. Yeah.
Joking?
No, like a case, I would start drinking them at like 11 a.m. And then I would just drink like, one an hour until I would get like really tired.
Are you joking? By the way, White Claw is like the worst
It's
of all
horrible.
these
It's
things. Like,
horrible. I don't drink them. I don't drink them anymore. Thank God I stopped. But yeah, I did have that like little phase going on. But
are you better
yeah,
now
so
though? Like, are you not
yeah.
drinking it?
No, I drink every day, but I don't drink that much. I
Would
have
you
like
say,
2 drinks. I have
would you
like
say
two,
you're an alcoholic or no?
a functional alcoholic. I drink like 2 to 4 drinks a day. So I don't know. That seems like American to me.
It seems like American. I mean, you're talking to somebody who doesn't drink, right? So for
Right,
me,
right.
4 drinks a day, yeah, like there's a lot of functional alcohol. I think there's actually a big percentage of people who are functional alcoholics out there.
Oh yeah,
I don't
for
think
sure.
you're the only one,
No, definitely not.
you know?
Yeah. So the weed, alcohol, um, those are my kind of, and nicotine are my demons. But I definitely for years fought myself on the weed thing. And like I said, I had long periods of time, years where a year or 2 years, I would say would be the longest amount of time that I didn't smoke weed for. But then I would like smoke for maybe 3, 4 months and then quit again. And I spent so much energy like fighting myself on it. And then at some point, I just sort of said, I just love weed. I'm going to smoke weed, and I'm not going to use that as an excuse to not do the things that I know I should do. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to use it as an excuse to go do this or go do that. I'm just going to make it part of my life and work with it. It's sort of a handicap, but I kind of like this was the place that I came to after being super healthy and like really in touch. I made this realization that I cannot like it's not realistic for me to think really that I can keep that up. It's just not who I am like as a person.
Right. I
So I
like
can
your
fight
honesty.
myself. I can
Yeah.
fight myself like back and forth on it and have times where I am or I'm not. But at the end of the day, for me, it's not like a realistic place for me to live in. So more like accept the parts of myself and the things that are, I know I'm not like necessarily the greatest version of myself, but I came to terms with that. And, I still think I'm like pretty can function and do like a lot of great shit. Um, and without half of the like stress that I used to have. So, um, I don't necessarily recommend it. Like I don't tell my kids to do that. Um, it's sort of like I kind of feel like it could be a stage. It might be something I grow out of, or evolve out of, but it's sort of like my mid-40s stage.
Yeah. Well, you're very
And I've accepted it.
self-accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the couple of things that's interesting. Number one, I kind of like, do you ever wonder how amazing you would be if you actually kind of were able to manage these hindrances in your life, right? Like if you're dysfunctional now, how much more
Yeah,
optimized would you
but
be?
I'm not interested.
Right. But that's my
That's the
point.
thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like I do get it because I have lived at that level before, and it's awesome. It's fucking awesome. But like, um, but it's just not. I just don't think that it's. I don't know.
It's worth it because
It's
you're
yeah.
not being you.
It's awesome. Exactly. And it's a different version. It's not that it's not being me. It's like the high version. It's like the race car version of
The
myself.
elevated version.
It's like the race car version. It's like the super pro,
Yeah.
like on everything
Elite.
tuned in just perfectly, like an engine that's like high tuned, but it's just you know, I mean, maybe I'll do it again. I don't know, but it takes a lot of fucking work to do that.
Totally.
And yeah, I mean, it really does. Maybe I'll get back to that. I mean, my sort of excuse for what I say is like balance. So I needed like some balance, and now I'll work towards getting back to that in a way that's more integrated, maybe, for the long run.
Or by the way, like where are you happier? Like if you're happier where like being who you are and doing the things you like, who's to say that you have to live this like souped up Ferrari version, right? Like if you're happy being, Mercedes C-Class versus
Yeah.
Bugatti,
So that's the thing. That's the mind exercise there.
right?
It is. It's a mind exercise. It is, and that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm really good at justifying my behavior.
We all are. We all are very good at
Yeah, yeah,
justifying our
yeah.
behavior.
But I'm an expert. I mean, I think, yeah, I think basically, like you said, like you have to see where you're happier, and am I happier now than I was then? It's a lot of things have changed in my life. I have a partner now. I never had that in my life, and I have someone that I'm like in love with, who's a handful, and we struggle from time to time, but someone who's got my back, like for real, and has helped me organize my life and helped me, through worse things than alcohol. And basically, when you have that, it kind of changes everything a little bit. And you have like my family and my kids, and you know, it became like less about me, I guess. And in that, and focusing on everybody else a little bit more, I felt it's less like I went to the family car. If we're going to use the car, the car version, it's like,
Yeah.
it's maybe it's not a Ferrari, but it's more of like you know,
A Buick.
it's fucking station wagon.
Yeah. Like the family truckster, like the Clark Griswold vacation,
Yeah.
station wagon.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking for like maybe like a Mercedes or an Audi station wagon. Have you seen those? Those are beautiful.
Yeah, those are
You know
very
what I mean?
nice. They're
So
very
maybe
nice.
that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I get it. That's why I said originally, I said the Mercedes C-Class. You're not at the AMG
Right,
level, but you're like
right,
at
right,
this, you're still a Mercedes, but it's
right,
just a
right. Thank
lower
you.
version,
So the last car that I had was a CLS 450, which is C class, I guess, but it's like a really nice C class.
It's a nice C-Class, yeah.
And it was the AMG version, so I had like the AMG wheels. I didn't have the AMG engine, but
Okay, but you had the wheels. So it's a start. It's a start. I like it. Were you ever addicted to hard drugs, or was it really always just weed was your thing?
I was addicted to cocaine like later on in my life, like at one point for about, I would say, 2 to 3 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, 2018, 17, 18, 19, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sort of right when I sort of met my wife, I was pretty bad, and she helped me through that.
How did
Yeah.
you get sober on that? Did you go to rehab or what did you do?
She took me to like this. I did not want to go to rehab, and I've been to rehabs before, and she knew I was serious, that I wanted to stop, like that I had to stop, and she would the one that would like take care of me when like all that shit was caked up in my nose, and like
Mhm.
like I needed to like, you know, steam my face every day, and like it was horrible for me. But and she's 20 years younger than me, and she came into my house when she was 18 years old. And so that was like a lot for her to like figure out, how do I get this like 30-year-old, 35-year-old dude off coke? Um, and I had kids around, and I had like, it was
Oh, wow.
yeah, so basically um she was with me for like probably the worst of it. Like that year on tour, I was doing these like meet and greets after the show, where I made this thing where I like didn't want to just do the typical meet and greet where it's like, so I gave everybody like a robe and slippers when they entered the door that said Matisyahu on them. And the deal was like, you had to put on the robe and slippers and hang. So I would do these hangs after the show. And that was a lot for me. So yeah, that's when that became kind of a thing. And basically she just helped me out. I came back from a tour. We came back from tour, and I wanted to go like cold turkey on everything, which I did. And she took me to this like Buddhist place in upstate New York that like they just have like rooms that are like simple with like a deck out there, and they make like organic like macrobiotic food, and that's it. And there's like trails, and you can just like rent a room. And we just went there for like a week, rented a room, and she just like took me through it. I went through all the detox and everything there at this like little monastery. But
Wow.
there was like nobody there. It was not a time when people were coming. So it was basically like just us that were there. And we just rented a room. And they had like meditations if you wanted to do them or not. I usually didn't. I think we watched like a lot of, I forget what we were watching then, like it might have been Game of Thrones or something. We just had like the laptop, and we were just like, I'm like shaking, watching fucking TV and shit. Yeah.
Wow. And so ever since then, so you became sober, what, 2020? Like around then?
Yeah, I transferred from like Coke to alcohol during COVID.
Right. So that was kind of your new addiction to get you off.
That eventually, yeah, that became the thing, yeah, for me. And then,
So
yeah,
have you done it since then? Have you had any kind of relapse or nothing?
no, 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 done with that one. That's fucking
Wow.
horrible drug, man. The worst. So horrible. For me in particular, it was really bad. I'm not like I don't do well on that drug. I don't do well on speed. I'm like I would like isolate myself all day long because I was just afraid to interact with anyone. And then I would just get up on stage and do my show, and that also wasn't great either. Yeah, it
Did
was
people
bad.
know? Did people know besides your
No,
family?
no, this may be the first time I'm talking about it. To be honest. I don't know. I think it might be actually. And I'm not like I'm a very honest person, so I don't feel like I need to hold it like that kind of thing back. That was a struggle for me, and I got through it. And I'm not perfect. I'm not like where I was in say 2000 and what was that? 2014, maybe 14, something like that. But I have a family and like a incredible relationship with my wife, and I feel like I'm a really fucking kick-ass dad. So, um, and trying to handle my business and be like a inspiration for Jewish people and
You are.
make good fucking music at the same time. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm doing all right, but um,
You're very likable, I have
not
to say.
perfect.
Y- This, by the way, nobody is perfect. And what makes you so perfect is your imperfections. Because what's honestly, as I say, you're very likable. I mean, you're so honest, and I love that. Like, people come on these things a lot and they say what they're supposed to say. And there's a lot of like, pop and circumstance, and you can see it and you can feel it. I think part of your charm and your success, honestly, is that like you kind of wear your heart on your sleeve and people, you know, you can feel your honesty. I think it's a really nice thing.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. I mean, that means a lot to me because that's definitely someone said that to me recently, especially like in Israel. Because they're used to like people like you present yourself a certain way,
Yes.
and I'm like the opposite of that. And people are always like, how is this going to work?
Yeah. I
But
think
then
it's
I feel like
amazing.
people walk away feeling usually like some kind of feeling of like they got something good, like a good meal.
I feel that way. Like I'm actually kind of sad because I actually genuinely like you. I'm like, am I ever going to see you again? Because I actually thought you lived in LA.
Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm coming back for the Jewish Film Festival on June 24th. And I'm going to be coming to LA, I think, on the 20th for a few days to work on some music. And so I'll be hanging out. Let's hang out. Let's do something. Let's get coffee.
Can we
Let's
have
do whatever you
lunch
want
and
to
we'll
do.
do like
Yeah.
a collaboration? I actually have something I want you to come to that I think you'd be amazing for. It's in New York. I'm going to tell you after this podcast. I think that you would be like I said, I think you'd be great at it. And wait, I'm just I have to say, I just really like you. You're so likable.
Thank you. GQ in like 2000 and 2006 had me listed as America's most lovable oddball.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I totally can see that. Hold on. I have to do this story. I want to see if this works. Hold on. Can you hear me or no?
Yes.
Okay. I First of all, okay, wait. I'm going to wrap it and then don't hang up because this thing's going to hang up in 5 minutes. So listen, this interview, I'm going to wrap it. This is with Matisyahu, who is so darling. Tell everybody where they can find you on this podcast. If you don't know who he is, just tell them your handle, and then
it's Matisyahu, which is Matisyahu. Matisyahu, one word. Instagram.
he's amazing. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. Don't hang up. We're for sure doing a part 2 when you're in LA, but thank you.